Mendelssohn's Songs Without Words are short, lyrical piano pieces from the heart of the Romantic piano tradition. They're also fantastic teaching pieces, and the one that we're going to be talking about today, Op.19 No.1, focuses on a few key areas which are really worth talking about with your students. The Songs Without Words were published in 8 volumes with 6 in each, and this one, Op.19 No.1, is the very first from the first book. Interestingly, Mendelssohn resisted ever setting or attaching actual words to these songs because he felt that the piano was expressive and poetic enough. And I think that's worth discussing with your students, just how they can bring these songs to life and really mimic the human voice in the tone that they employ in the right hand. This is all about the melody, and it's about the incredibly beautiful and subtle harmonic changes that take place almost every beat against this rippling backdrop of semiquavers in the middle inner part. Key features then for students to think about, well, this piece really requires a lot of thought about legato. So just looking right at the very beginning, the very first time we hear the melody, upbeat into bar 3, how your students can think about legato. Well, they're going to have to concentrate on this idea of swapping fingers when they've landed on a note. So just looking at this opening phrase, starting on an A, landing on finger 4 and swapping to finger 5 while the note is depressed, which frees up finger 4 to move to the F sharp, swapping on the F sharp from finger 4 to finger 5, and so on. That's going to take a lot of practice, slow work, really to cement that legato. The right hand and the left hand, the melody and the bass line often work in tandem, so also implementing a really good quality legato into the left hand. So separate practice. Encourage your students to think of this as a 3-part texture that they can take out and practice separately. So you've got the melody, you've got the bass line, and then you've got these inner rippling semiquavers that I was talking about. Now, one way to get your students to achieve a really smooth, even tonal and rhythmic balance to those inner semiquavers would be to say, practice them not split between the hands, as they are in the piece, but actually in one hand. So again, from the opening, this is into bar 3. And then practice it in the left hand. And then, once that's been practiced, play it how it is in the actual piece. And drawing the students' attention to how smooth it was when they were playing it with just one hand versus that sound, bringing that sound into the music when it's divided between the hands. Something else that you'll want to talk to your students about is pedalling. I often call this overlapping pedalling or syncopated pedalling. It's this idea that the harmony, the pedal is changed, is lifted and depressed again after the new harmony's been sounded. There, there, there. So it's not about holding up the line. That was obviously quite exaggerated and slower than will actually happen in the real piece. But it's about slow practice, making sure that they make that connection between putting the new harmony down and then very quickly doing a pedal change. That way they'll catch the right harmony and they won't blur the texture. Something else to discuss might be rubato. This music doesn't need a huge amount of rubato. It does need a little rubato. So I would encourage your students to be very creative and free with how much rubato they want to play around with, encouraging them from one week to the next to put a little bit more rubato, push maybe towards the centre of the phrases and pull back towards the cadences and the ends of phrases, that kind of thing. And very much encourage them to feel what's right for their interpretation. Further listening, well, there's all the other songs without words that they might enjoy. Other romantic piano works by Chopin, Schumann will also help put this in context. And also something a little bit more unusual, Alkan wrote several chants, and in each one there was a barcarolle that was very similar sounding to the Mendelssohn Songs Without Words, because he was extremely inspired by Mendelssohn.